Next up, he is an associate professor in the Faculty of Science and Technology at the University of Twente, where he works on the development of different catalysts for the sustainable production of chemicals. That sounds quite scary, difficult, but he's gonna make it less scary for us. Please join me, Jimmy Faria. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. That was the song that came up when reading about it. You're like, what? Yes, but tell me, life in plastic, can it be fantastic?
Well, in fact, it is quite much better than without plastics, okay. I have to say. So plastics are an essential part of our modern life. We see them everywhere, we use them everywhere, from our cars to how we even preserve foods in the supermarkets, etc. So plastics have, we have this sort of hate and love relationship.
Love and hate. Where on the spectrum are you, love or hate?
Well, I'm in the love. I'm trying to make my amends with plastics and chemicals because we actually need more of them, and we will have to have them. We just need to find ways to make them, the usage of them, more sustainable and circular.
Yeah. Well, wait, let me ask. So about the love-hate relationship with plastic. Who's in a love relationship with plastic? Don't be scared now. Yeah, I see some. Who is in a hate relationship with plastics? Okay. But some people are still on the edge of like, am I in love or am I in hate? You are in love, that's clear. Yes. And how did you prepare for this day to, well, maybe get some people on the love side also?
Yeah, so my presentation, I mean, as a scientist or as an engineer, you're trained to actually go into the details. So it was actually quite difficult for me to come up with a story that, a lot of people could understand and that I could share with them, the reasons why I became a scientist and an engineer on sustainable chemistry, and hopefully inspired the new generation, as Vino was discussing early on, to pursue a similar path.
Wow, I'm curious. I'm gonna forget about Barbie and Ken. And for now, there's only one man on the stage, and his name is Jimmy Faria. The stage is yours, yes.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for this great opportunity to be here today. And as I said just a minute ago, I'm here to tell you something about the story, why I pursued this career. And for that, I actually have to take you back in time and to, let's say, my origin story. So I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm this little boy in the left-hand side, in the stroller. And I grew up in a household of immigrants. So my parents and my father was an immigrant from Portugal, from a small island called Madeira, and my mom was actually the daughter of another Italian immigrant in this case. And, they got married and they used to live in Caracas, very busy city, and at some point they said, listen, we have to move away from here. And so we moved to a city called Barquisimeto. So my sister, that lady that was in the picture before, and me, we actually grew up here in a city called Barquisimeto. So in this city, you see here in the mountains, we had our farm. And so my parents, they actually had a farm, and so at that early age, I was really exposed to having chickens and all kinds of fruits and vegetables. The most important thing was my parents, they have really passion for nature. They will, have ways to collect rainwater to, water the plants in the dry season. We also have to take care of our waste to really have a part of it for composting, part of it for, feeding some of the chickens, for example. So that passion of my parents really had an impact on me. So I knew at that moment I wanted to pursue something related to sustainability. But it wasn't really until I got to high school that I was really exposed to the scientific method. In my last year of graduation, me and some friends, we actually started working on my last project of the high school, which was the understanding of the relationship between the effect of acid rain on the growth and development of corn plants. And at that time, I was completely shocked by the result. I was really amazed by that. It turns out that when you expose these seeds to the acid rain, the germination is faster, something that you would think it's actually good. But what happens is that this acid rain that is typically associated to the emissions coming from combustion of fossil fuels creates a problem in the long run, because now these plants are actually quite sick because the acid have lixiviated a lot of the nutrients from the soil. So for me, that relationship between cause and effect, that I could pinpoint what was the cause of this problem, was a game changer. I fell completely in love with this idea. Now, I said, okay, I really like math, I really love chemistry, and I want to do something for the planet. And so I ended up studying chemical engineering. And in a country like Venezuela, where we have a lot of crude oil, of course, I have another hate and love relationship with the crude oil, right? So what happened was that I decided to study, my studies in bachelor and also later on my PhD studies on the usage of something that is called heterogeneous catalysis to make these processes much better. Now, in a heterogeneous catalyst, what you have is a solid. Something very similar to what you see this. This is a three-dimensional reconstruction of a catalytic particle. And what you see is that you have these active sites, these yellow particles. There, it's where the magic happens. So molecules that are in the liquid or the gas phase will reach the surface of these solids, and there you can either form a new chemical bond or break a chemical bond. Now, what I really loved about this is that I could control with atomic precision what was the composition of that surface and the geometry of that material in such a way that I could actually manipulate how quickly the reaction happens, as well as which chemistry am I activating. So what I do now in my group with the goal of utilizing these materials is actually related to three main topics. The first one, we're trying to develop catalysts that can help us to convert fluctuating renewable energies into chemicals. Chemicals that we can transport over long distances in a safe manner so we can generate electricity when we need it and where we need it. We're also very much working now on the valorization of plastics so we can actually have a more loving relationship with plastic so we can close the circle of plastic utilization. And finally, a subject that is very relevant for the Netherlands as a farming country is the treatment of nitrogen components in water. Essentially, these are the aquifers that come off farming activities, where you have all these nitrogen toxic components. And now, beyond all these, let's say, technologies, the papers that we produce, the patents that we have, and the idea of creating all kinds of new technologies with our industrial stakeholders, the most important thing and the most important outcome of what I do is this, is the people that I work with. So the students in the classroom and the students in my research lab, they are the reason I come here every morning, every day, to work with the same enthusiasm that I had the first time when I started working in the corn seeds project. Because I know that the most valuable product that I could offer to society is actually people, the next generation that can really tackle these problems. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention.
Wow. Jamie, let's ask them again. Now, who is now in a love relationship with plastics? Okay, yeah. Okay, let me ask a different question. Who is in a love relationship with what he has to tell? Yeah, right? Yes. Give him some love. Jimmy Faria, thank you.